belts are super important, right? Now we've got the BMF belt, which is so cool for so many reasons. However, I wish it wasn't happening. Now, hear me out on this. Let's start at the very beginning. Why do I say belts are important? Well, fighting used to be really important. If you had a village, if you had any kind of territory or a people or a tribe, it was important that you had good fighters. Because if you didn't, it could cost you your life. It could cost you your way of life. It could cost you your land and territory. When people came in, they would fight, and whoever won took the area. It's really not all that important anymore, right? In terms of just hand-to-hand combat, it's really not all that important anymore. Now, from strategies to diplomacy to tanks and weapons, it's really not all that important to be all that good of a fighter. So what do? If you don't have a life to fight for, you don't have a way of life to fight for, you don't have a village and property and possessions to fight for, what do? Well, you throw a belt out there. You have to throw out something that's tangible, that's rare, and that creates an emotion and a significance. And we've done that. In the fight, we have done that. It is called the belt. Great. I'm in and I get it. Here's why I don't like the BMF belt. I don't like the BMF belt because there can't be a lineage to it. It's not going to trade hands. I have to come out and say BMF because I can't tell you what BMF stands for. Neither could any other reporter in a live situation. They just couldn't. So it works for one night. It satisfies the objective for a night. But I wish that it would have been a broader scope because I would love to see that be able to trade hands. If Nate Diaz wins the BMF belt, he should be able to put that up in his next fight. He should. If George Masvidal wins the BMF belt, he should be able to walk around that with it on his shoulder, go to his media appearances, go to all of his opportunities, and put that on the line if he wants to. I really do think that. And I think the problem with the with the F in BMF, the problem with the F is we can't go anywhere with it, and I want to be able to go somewhere with it. You know, there was a real fun. And belts mean so much. I mean, I could just, as a former competitor, I wanted that belt so bad. So incredibly bad. It was rare. It meant something. It was recognized by your peers. It was recognized by the media. It was recognized by the people on the street. I wanted it. But one thing that you do have to understand, and the BMF, by the way, before I get to this, the BMF has caught on so well, even The Rock is now coming out and saying he wants to be at Madison Square Garden and he wants to put the belt around the winner's waist. I mean, it has really caught up. So, okay, we get why we like belts. We understand that. It's cool for the guys. It's a significance to fighting. It's filled the gap between what we do today versus historically why it was important that you know how to fight in ancient times. When I was doing coverage for Mayweather-McGregor, everything was going well. I mean, the Vegas was popping. These guys had done press tours, 4 of them in total in 2 different countries. They sold them out completely. The first of them was a weekday in the afternoon in Los Angeles. They were scalping tickets on the street to see 2 fighters talk about fighting. I mean, everything is going splendidly for Mayweather versus McGregor at the absolute last minute. 1 day before weigh-ins, 2 days before bell time, somebody comes out at the press conference and explains that what belt will be on the line. They're fighting for the money belt. And he brings the belt out. And I'm sitting next to Teddy Atlas, and we both just look at each other. Oh, my goodness. How was there such a misdone on this? They have sold out 4 arenas to listen to these guys talk about the fight. Nobody has said, the one thing that we really need here is a belt. There was no belt. Nobody asked for a belt. Oh, and by the way, the money belt's not a real belt. You just made that up. And then you gave it a really stupid name, which is Mayweather's nickname. Imagine the same thing had happened. They're going to go fight for a belt. A made-up, totally fake belt, but they're going to fight for the belt, and the belt happens to be called Proper 12 Whiskey. I mean, do you see how you can't just tip your hat or tip your hand to one guy? Okay, great. So they bring out this mythical belt that never needed to be done, was nothing more than a marketing play and a miss to the highest of levels. And then the BS artist, whoever this guy was, this BS artist decides that the offering of the fake belt isn't enough. He's going to go even further, and he's going to tell you the price of this belt. And I can't remember what the price was, guys, but it was 7 figures. I mean, this thing might have been $11 million. It was something just stupid, okay? And then that's not even enough. He's got to tell you why it's worth 7 figures. It's encrusted, and he starts telling you how many rubies are on it and how many diamonds are on it and the carat of the gold. This thing was so fake and so phony and so embarrassing. And you should have seen Connor. I mean, even Floyd's sitting up there going, what are we doing? And Connor's going, you got to be kidding me. You just brought out now a belt's on the line? 2 days before we fight, a belt is now on the line that's named my opponent's nickname, the money. I mean, this was a miss to the highest of levels. However, the story's not yet done. So I get to call this fight. I mean, this was a neat experience for me. Big fight, able to participate. But what happens? I'm behind the stage and they leave the money belt. I mean, they left it. I could have grabbed it. That could be Chael's belt right now. So there's the money belt, unattended, okay, in Las Vegas, unattended. I start taking a look at this thing. That's a piece of crap, is what that belt is. I'm staring at this belt going, not one of those emeralds is emeralds, not one of those diamonds is diamonds. Oh, by the way, this leather belt is completely cracking. It looked like one of these belts that you could barely even bend because, it's that kind of cheap leather that's just like hard as like you could. I just stood there staring at it. And I looked back up to Teddy. I was like, $11 million belt. What do you think? And Teddy literally didn't even form a word. He just goes, just like that. Great moment. Somewhere there's a point in all of this. But before you're sitting here trying to fight, don't worry about it. Don't worry what's on the test, baby. Just enjoy the class.